we got some word yesterday that from Albert Breer that Jonathan Gannon's job might not actually be safe. And what we've heard, so here's what, let me be honest with you guys. There are other reporters I trust more than others. And I've always been a little skeptical about Benjamin Albright's reporting. I think with other teams, it's definitely a little bit more concrete. With the Arizona Cardinals, I feel like it's a little vague sometimes and not necessarily always true. And so I was having a hard time believing him coming out every couple of days and saying Jonathan Gannon is going to get a second chance. Jonathan Gannon is going to run it back. Part of the reason why I thought that Jonathan Gannon was going to get his job back and was going to be able to run it back with the Cardinals next year is a few different things. One, I don't think Michael Bidwell is going to pay 3 head coaches at one time. He'd be paying Cliff, he'd be paying Jonathan Gannon, and he'd be paying Mr. Outside Hire. I don't think he wants to do that. 2, there are some reasons why the Cardinals have been terrible this year. And as much as people don't like it, I think it's pretty clear that the Cardinals have had some really bad and unfair injury luck. And so for those reasons, I think that he's probably going to stick around. Plus, I do, and last year in the NFLPA report card, the Arizona Cardinals head coaching grade got an A. So that means the players like him. That means they're buying into his messaging. That means they are buying what Jonathan Gannon is selling. I think he is a real leader. I think players really like him. And what we've seen over the past couple weeks is I think this team is still fighting for him. Now, do I think that they're doing that they played with elite level energy and animosity on Sunday? No, not necessarily. But at some point, you have to chop that up to the opposing team is just much better than you. And when you're down a multitude of players, it just makes life that much more difficult. So I didn't really lean into this idea of the Arizona Cardinals players weren't trying. They were giving up. I don't think that's the case. I just think that the players they had on the field weren't very good. I mean, we talked about this the other day, but the Cardinals are down multiple running backs. They're down multiple wide receivers. They're down a tight end. They're down players on the offensive line, on an offensive line that already wasn't good. So I buy into the idea. Again, I know so many of you just want to fire the coach. I can't just come out and say that that's the exact right thing to do. We have fired so many head coaches before. We have fired offensive coordinators. We have fired general managers. The only thing we haven't done in 7 years is got rid of the quarterback. And people will tell me, well, you have Jacoby Brissett here. The Cardinals' plan was not to start Jacoby Brissett all year. For me, it's find your next guy in the draft, as well as hopefully you can stay healthy. But here's the other thing. Here's what I wanted to get to. So Benjamin Albright's reporting, I've never been super sold on when it comes to the Cardinals. I think sometimes it can be a little spotty. Here's what Albert Breer of, I believe, Sports Illustrated on if Jonathan Gannon will get fired after this season. He said, quote, "I certainly don't think he's safe right now. I don't know what the owners are going to do, but I don't know what the owner's going to do, but it does feel like that at some level change is coming. I think there's going to be significant change after this year." Interesting. How could there be significant change for the Arizona Cardinals that isn't head coaching change for it to actually matter? So my point is, how could there be change? How are you going to have change Is it the quarterback? Is that the big change? It feels like to me now, per Albert Breer, that for the first time, Jonathan Gannon is on the hot seat. I just don't know how you talk about there's going to be significant change after this year that isn't the head coach. Like, what are you going to do? Get rid of the offensive coordinator? How much is that going to change? Well, you're going to get rid of the quarterback, but I don't know if that's significant change because we kind of already saw it coming. It feels like Jonathan Gannon is coaching for his job. I've laid out the list of candidates to you. It's not great, the list of candidates that are out there right now for the Arizona Cardinals to be losing their brain cells over. But you look at the potential candidates this year, per Diana Rossini of The Athletic, this came out on, I believe it was Sunday, and it's not a great list of candidates either. And this is what Diana Rossini had to say on Sunday. Expect these names to garner interest in the upcoming coaching cycle. So you want to get rid of Jonathan Gannon, that's perfectly fine. But here are the guys that are leading the way to replace Jonathan Gannon. Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. He was fired before, and he doesn't call plays. 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, just coming off of being fired. Broncos DC Vance Joseph. He's been fired a multitude of times. Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. I don't know why he's getting head coaching buzz, but I'll leave it at that. Packers DC Jeff Hafley. I actually don't mind this guy. And same with Rams DC Chris Shula. I just want to go in the offensive direction this time. So sure, you like those guys. I can't say that they're bad hires, but I wish they'd go in the offensive direction. And then, of course, Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. And Joe Brady, we'll see how much of it is actually Josh Allen, because the last offensive coordinator to be brought in from the Bills got fired in Brian Daboll. Well, and I do think Clint Kubiak is interesting, but I can't act like that doesn't come with risks as well. Clint Kubiak has been fired before. Fired from the Texans job, fired from the Saints job as an OC. Brian Flores, he didn't get along with his owner. He's been fired before. Yeah, he's got a good defense, but players didn't really like him, it seemed like, and he got fired before. So there's no clear person to come in. My guy Michael Evans in the chat, Mike McCarthy. It's actually not a terrible hire, but it's also I think you could do better too. And Mike McCarthy has also been fired twice already. Once against the Cowboys, once against the Green Bay Packers. So my point is, there's not a great head coaching candidate out there. And if there was, would they choose your job? So it's a very slippery slope. But if Albert Breer is correct and Jonathan Gannon is finally fighting for his job, how does he save his job? And you look at the Arizona Cardinals schedule for the rest of the season, guys. I don't know if there's a win on there. I said this weeks ago, I didn't think there was a win on there. Now you look at it, and is there really no wins on there left? So here's what we got. You got the Houston Texans at NRG Stadium this weekend with likely no Paris Johnson Jr. That is such a big fat L, it's not even funny. Then you got the Atlanta Falcons at home. They might win that game, but damn, are you going to be rooting for them to lose that game? Because if the Falcons somehow out-tank you, remember, that pick goes to the Rams. You've got to be selecting before the Rams in this draft. And then you've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams. Both teams who are probably going to stuff you in a locker and eat your lunch. You can't guard Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, clearly. And Joe Burrow is just going to pick this team apart. And it's on the road. So all eyes on that Falcons game. But What if the Cardinals go 2-2? Is that good enough to bring back Gannon? I don't know, man. I think it's such a slippery slope to say. Like, my thing is, okay, I've made it very clear. I'm not defending JG. I'm not begging for the services of Jonathan Gannon. I just don't know how you can look at this last stretch of games and say, well, if he goes 2-2, then you bring him back next year. It's like, that's the sample size you're going to use when the Cardinals season is already over? I think if Jonathan Gannon goes 2-2, he's safe. That is not my opinion. That is what I think is going to happen. That's not what I would do. I'm still in the era of probably just keep JG around because I just don't see anything better. And I do think I want to see him with a full stack deck next season. But again, that comes with some worries on my part because I don't want them selecting a quarterback in this upcoming draft just because they're doing it out of desperation. But it's just interesting, man. Albert Breer's reporting on that makes me think that maybe we're closer to a change. Maybe we're closer to a change than I thought we once were. I didn't think he was going to get fired, but according to Albert Breer, it sounds like he might. Here's the other thing, Cardinals news related. Paris Johnson Jr., the guy in your lower third here, he's got a sprained MCL. He's probably out for the year. There's no, like, they said 1 to 2 weeks he's out. Why in the world would you bring back your franchise left tackle? Not 100% against the Bengals and the Rams. What is the point in that? What is the point? So it's not official, but if I was guesstimating, Paris Johnson Jr. is out for the year. He's out for the year. What are you doing bringing him back? Like, at that point, it would just be malpractice of a player to rush him back from an MCL injury. And that brings me up to this week. You've got the Houston Texans pass rush coming into town. Forget anything else. Forget any other thing that they have. Nico Collins, CJ Stroud, Dalton Schultz, Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. Like, forget all of those. The story begins and ends with the Houston Texans pass rush on Sunday at NRG Stadium. There is no world where Paris Johnson Jr. plays in this game, and he is your only functional elite level player on that offensive line. I like Yoda Froholt. He's a center. Outside of those two, it's a steep drop off at the left guard, right tackle position. A win this weekend would just be for Jacoby Brissett not to snap a leg. Because I don't trust this offensive line at all. Much less do I trust it against the Houston Texans pass rush. That is a tall task this weekend. And it kind of sucks where you've been going into every week and you're like, well, here's the ways they could win. There is absolutely no way they can beat the Houston Texans this weekend. Like, there is no game I've been more clear about they are losing. And it should already be put in the record books after we saw Paris Johnson Jr. go down with an MCL injury. You're not bringing him back. This offensive line's got no chance to block them. It's a game where, like, you don't even need to watch. You know exactly what's going to happen. I think the Texans, it's very, very possible they have 10 sacks this weekend. I think at minimum, they have 6. They have 7. Because, listen, what's the point of playing Marvin Harrison Jr. in this game? If he's not 100%, you're not going to get the ball to him. Michael Wilson, dude, seriously, it's so bad. I might just feed Kelvin Slovis to the Wolves. and let him start this weekend, make up an injury for Jacoby Brissett, and throw my second and third stringers out there so that no one gets seriously injured. But these are the types of games where players get seriously injured that you might need for next season because you don't have the proper protection around them. And the Texans, although I don't think are an elite level team, they've got an elite level defense led by an elite level head coach in D'Amico Ryans. And that's going to be tough to go against this weekend, guys. I mean, that's going to be a bloodbath. That's going to be a 30-20. It's going to be a 27-10 game written all over it. All over it. They've got no chance of moving the football, and that sucks, man.